Morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. If this is your first session, we're very glad you're here. And we have a very interesting topic to talk about. My name is Pete Lauder. I'm the president of McCombs-Wall, and we're very, very glad that you're all here. Thank you for spending some of your busy day here with us, and we hope that's informative and entertaining, and you stay around for some lunch. Our next speaker is Scott Melton, who is the Director of Sales for Fanuc Robotics. And Scott has been in the robotics industry for over 30 years, he tells me. That's hard to believe, but we're all getting a little bit long in the tooth in this industry. But Scott has been the Director of Sales for 25 years for Fanuc, and he'll be talking today about the possibility of saving our factory. So please welcome Scott Melton.
Well, good morning, everybody. How y'all doing today? Great. What we're going to talk about today, is really an important subject. What we're going to talk about is how automation, robotics, and other kinds of automation keep jobs here in North America. How manufacturers and industrial companies can be competitive versus low-cost countries like China, like India. So really what you're going to see today, and we're going to really talk about is, how North America is probably in the best position to have a resurgence in manufacturing in North America. We've actually seen it over the last couple of years, and what you're going to see is that North America is in a great position for that in the future. Sorry. And the old paradigm used to be, if you wanted to be successful, if you wanted to reduce costs, you went offshore. You went to China, you went to India. In fact, a number of years ago, we were at the ATX show just down in Anaheim, California, and we were doing a presentation on automated palletizing and packaging. And in our room, unfortunately, it was crickets. There was nobody there. And in the next room everybody was in there, was how to offshore, how to go to China effectively. But I think what you're seeing is people coming back. So what steps can be taken to be competitive globally in North America? When you look at it, North America is still the largest exporter of manufactured goods. And manufactured goods still account for almost 60% of all goods that the United States exports. And when you think about from an economy, it's $1.35 trillion in 2012, which is actually an increase from the previous year. So again, manufacturing, exporting is continuing to grow. But the challenge is going to be, in the future. Because again, one of the challenges we face is we have a growing trade deficit with China and with other companies. As you can see, by March 2012, the trade balance was negative 51, almost $52 billion. In 2000, U.S. exports were 3 times those of the Chinese. In 2015, right now, the Chinese are on track to double U.S. exports. So manufacturers in North America face a real challenge. And one of the things that obviously that the Chinese are doing is obviously they're maintaining and devaluing their currency so it keeps their costs down. But as that changes, that advantage is going to go away. And again, over the past 10 years, they've devalued the currency significantly to the point of $3 trillion. And again, with domestic growth, the Chinese are going to be reevaluating their currency continues. So you're always going to face that currency challenge with the Chinese. But, the importance of manufacturing in North America is it really leads GDP growth and productivity. If you look at some of the resurgence in our growth in GDP recently, it's all been manufacturing. Manufacturing is what leads innovation. 70% of the patents are in the private sector. Or 70% come from the private sector, result in 90% of the patents. And when you look at over the last, since 2010, we've created almost 500,000 jobs in North America in manufacturing. And those are great paying jobs. Those are the kind of jobs that you want to have because they pay great and because you can see 17% higher than your standard service-related jobs. and they're really the backbone of the defense and industrial complex. You know, manufacturing, the ability to manufacture products, you know, that's what won World War II. That's what's been successful for the United States for a number of years. You know, the old manufacturing paradigm was, well, the problem with North America was we had high labor costs, we got high healthcare costs, we got high legal costs, regulations, tax rates, environmental laws, you know, and basically it was cheap. You go offshore and, you know, in China or India, you got low-cost labor, and you take that low-cost labor and you add in the cost of that piece part, you add in the cost of the freight, and it would typically tend to be lower cost than doing it here in North America. But what you really see is there's some other things that really have to be evaluated as part of that cost comparison. You know, those things include shipping. You know, shipping has become more expensive with gas and oil prices increasing. That shipping cost is continuing to increase. So that shipping cost has become more expensive. Inventory, you know, when you purchase from China or India, you typically have to have a significant quantity, you have to carry a significant inventory. Insurance, you know, obviously if your goods or services, or if your goods are damaged. Quality, you know, we've seen a lot of issues coming out of China, India with quality. You know, the issue with the dog food, the issue with the paints, the issue with the drywall. Travel, you know, you have to go to India on a regular basis or China to check on your goods or services. And then, you know, infrastructure risk, materials, labors. There's just a lot of things that people have to take into account, you know, going in manufacturing in a low-cost country, that when you really roll that in, you know, North America is still a very effective place to manufacture. You know, some other things that people have to think about are, you know, legal issues, theft and piracy. You know, really, you know, if you make something in China, there's a good chance that your intellectual property will get stolen. You know, training costs, cost of transition, just a number of things that when you add it all up, these all need to be factored into, you know, is it really, truly lower cost making something in China or some other low-cost country versus doing it here in North America. And what you really see is the reality is when you add all this stuff up, you know, North America and versus doing it offshore are pretty close to being very competitive. And what you're going to see next is, you know, how do we close the rest of that gap? And we think it's through robotics, automation, lean manufacturing principles, just-in-time inventory. Those things kind of close the rest of that gap to take away those cost differential between China. So when you look at that, you know, from lean manufacturing principles, robotics and automation, we have a number of companies here in California, North America, that are very competitive, actually have lower costs with automation in California and elsewhere within North America versus doing it in some low-cost country. And at some point, you know, you kind of run out of low-cost countries to chase. You know, many manufacturers have gone to China. They've now gone to Vietnam. You know, where do you go to next? You know, at some point, you kind of run out of stable political countries to go to. Quality programs, just-in-time inventory. You know, these are the real winners. So the people that really embrace lean manufacturing and robotics and other programs are going to be the ones that are going to stay here, they're going to thrive, and they're going to prosper in North America. So again, kind of really said that, but again, you know, embracing automation and using lean manufacturing. You know, the U.S. in the last, since 2000, has lost 5.7 million jobs, but the Chinese have too. You know, they've lost almost 11 million jobs in manufacturing since 2000. And why? Because they're automating as well. You know, their costs are starting to increase, so they're starting to increase their use of automation as well. For example, if anybody has an iPhone or an iPad, you know, a lot of that is robotically assembled, even though it's done in China. It's all done with robotics and automation and automated machines. And again, you know, over the last number of years, the 20 world's largest economies have lost over 50 million jobs. And it's really because of automation and other factors have contributed to that automation. So, you know, what automation allows you to do is to restructure your manufacturing with higher value-added jobs. You know, the jobs that are created are the folks that take care of robots. They're the folks that, you know, program and diagnose issues with automation systems. And so you can see here, you know, companies like Germany, Italy, Australia, they're highly automated countries. You know, for example, in Germany, they have a number of automation systems, and they have just as restrictive labor laws. They have just as high costs as the United States, and they're very effective in manufacturing. You know, one of the other issues that North American manufacturers face, and Pete said I've been working for Fanuc, or I've been doing this for about 30 years, you know, is by 2020, I'll have retired. I'll be one of those 70 million baby boomers that will have retired and be off to, I guess not Florida anymore, but anyway, you know, we're going to be looking, there's only going to be 40 million people that will be entering the workplace. So that's about a gap of 30 million workers. So where do you find those trained employees? You know, one of the things we find today, and one of the issues is, we just can't find enough technical people. Today, right now, if you have some technical background, you can be in the automation business because there's a lot of positions available for that. You know, industry is begging for people with technical backgrounds to do that. And, you know, right now, only about 15 million are employed in manufacturing, but that's going to continue to grow over time. You know, when you look at, you know, what is the evolution, you know, of manufacturing automation, you know, you really can equate it to another adage is farming. You know, in the turn of century, almost 38% of Americans were involved in farming. You know, so every 4 in 10 people were involved in farming. Today, less than 2% of all Americans are involved in farming, but the United States leads the world in agricultural output and agricultural exports by a factor of 2 versus France and other countries. Why? It's because of automation and because of improved farming techniques. You know, when you look at today's farms, they're highly automated. For example, one of the things that we do is we work with companies to automate the milking process. We have robotic systems that are milking cows on large farms in California, Texas, Wisconsin, and elsewhere in the United States. So those kinds of things are really helping lead the production of food is the automation techniques. Another example of where automation really helps increase input, helps save the factory is the steel industry. You know, you can see the steel industry has lost almost 300,000 jobs, but its output is almost 30% increase versus what they used to do. So through automation, through mini mills, through improved manufacturing techniques, they've been able to not only thrive, but they've been able to increase their output and continue to grow in North America. So really, technology was the key to the steel industry. It was key to the growth in farming. You know, that's what feeds the world, is the American farmer and the technology that he brings to it. So, you know, when we look at it, you know, productivity improvements through innovation and technology, you know, these are really going to help North America solve its competitiveness issue. So let's take some examples. Why robots? Why automation? For example, this is a real company in Ohio. They were manufacturing an automotive component. This automotive component was costing them 84 cents to weld and to make. They could buy the same thing in China. This company made the decision, though, that they wanted to be in the United States. They wanted to continue to manufacture. They didn't want to go to China. They wanted to continue to make the product here. And so you can see, by implementing robotics, implementing improved manufacturing processes, they were able to get their cost down to 30 cents, the same cost as China, but now China's more expensive because you still got to pay for shipping, duty, and all the other things. So in this case, by implementing robotic automation, they were able to lower their cost and be more effective and be able to deliver faster to their customers using robotic automation. Another example, machine tool load unload. There's a number of robots that are used for loading and unloading machine tools, injection molding machines, etc. This company, located in Colorado, was costing them 97 cents to make their parts. They could do the same thing in China for 76 cents. Again, what they did is they implemented robotic automation, and they were actually able to lower their cost down to 73 cents a part. So they were actually cheaper than making it in China, plus they had the advantage of not having to pay shipping, duty, freight, and all those other risks that are associated with making it in China. Why? Because they went to automation. And the real reason is because they were able to get higher spindle utilization. You know, a machine tool is only going to turn metal and cut chips so fast. It's just, you can't do it whether you're in the United States or China, it's all kind of the same. But by implementing robotic automation, they were able to increase their spindle utilization so that that spindle was cutting chips went from 79% efficiency up to 95% efficiency. So through implementing robotic automation, they're able to reduce their costs and be competitive and stay here in North America. The other thing, and really one of the advantages, is they're able to do it with 53% less energy. So one of the factors that you're starting to see with robotic automation is it saves you energy. It helps reduce your cost from that. So not only is it a labor savings, it also helps reduce your energy cost as well. Another example, in palletizing, which you'll see if you go down on the floor, you see robotic palletizing simple. You know, a simple robotic palletizing system, you know, the robot is actually going to save, is going to provide 60% more output, which again saves energy and provides greater throughput by robotic automation versus having somebody hand palletize or hand stack. And you know, then you think about the ergonomic issues, you think about the other costs associated with manual palletizing, it just doesn't add up. You know, robotics saves you more money and it's more energy efficient than manual labor. Here's another example of an assembly application. This is a part of your transmission housing, you know, basically where you're putting the insert, you're putting these blades into it. You can see down the lower left-hand side, or lower right-hand side, excuse me, you know, somebody manually doing this. And this was automated, and again, this reduced the energy cost 80%, improved the efficiency, and this is being made back in Michigan again versus being made in China. So again, there's a lot of things and advantages to robotic automation in manufacturing here in North America that we have to offer. You know, one of the things that's an interesting fact is in the United States, we got a lot of room to grow. For example, in Japan, there's one robot in manufacturing for every 32 employees. In Europe, it's about one for every 40-ish. In the United States, there's one robot implemented for every 86 employees. So you can see there's a lot of opportunities to improve manufacturing. Fanuc, my company I work for example, our factories have 10 robots for every employee. So there's 10 robots for every employee out on the manufacturing floor or more. And that percentage is increasing every year. So you can see we're doing it very efficiently. This is actually what you see on the lower left-hand side is a picture of robots making robots. So George Orwell was right. It is going to come to that at some point. You know, one of the things that benefits of robotic automation, you know, it helps you address the attrition of skilled labor. Again, finding skilled assemblers, finding skilled welders. This can be done with a robot. You know, it doesn't require health care or pension costs. You can't pick up the paper, you can't watch TV, and you can't understand that health care costs are going up, or you can't look at your paycheck and see that, you know, your deductible or whatever else is being is increasing constantly. So, you know, manufacturers are feeling the pain of increased health care costs. You know, the consistent quality, you got to have it to be competitive. You know, obviously it reduces scrap. You know, it's available 24/7, 365. The picture you saw earlier where robots assemble robots, we have a automated machining factory. It runs 720 hours unattended, which is basically 2 months. It runs, we don't have anybody actually go in the machining plant until every 60 days. And again, you don't need skilled operators and inspectors because the quality's there. You know, robots produce consistent quality time after time. So again, automation provides a lot of benefits. And again, as we talked about earlier, you know, there's going to be a skilled labor shortage. There already is a skilled labor shortage. If you talk to many manufacturers, they're looking for skilled people. You know, in 2011, you know, 600,000 jobs remain unfilled. You know, we hear a lot about unemployment, but there's almost 600,000 jobs that are out there for people, but they got to have skill. You know, you got to have the skill to be able to do those kinds of jobs. That's where the future is in the future. Excuse me. You know, and when you look at it, you know, you can see there's several articles. A lot of publications have been discussing, you know, robotic automation and reshoring. You know, who's coming home? You know, auto manufacturers, electronics companies. You know, you've all heard about Apple is going to start manufacturing here in the United States. Google is making a Google Glass. They've decided they're going to make that in Santa Clara, California. You know, when you look at automakers, you know, I was just at the Tesla plant in Fremont, California on Tuesday. Last month they made $12 million and they're going to repay their federal government loan early. So they're being successful. That success is due to automation and those automation here in the United States. Again, we see almost 1 million manufacturing jobs being created in the next decade. And again, the total gain could be somewhere between $2 and $3 million. And the cost advantage is going to go to North American manufacturers, because one of the reasons is we got an abundant supply of energy here. Energy costs, and if energy costs continue to go down, we could be even more successful. This is a company in Springfield, Utah. It's called Little Giant Ladders. You've probably seen the infomercials or seen them at Home Depot or Lowe's. One of the things they do is they completely robotically weld their ladders. It's just a simple aluminum structure. And again, they do it in Utah. And again, they've been able to increase their production. They have skilled labor, and they've been able to reduce their costs. And they love manufacturing in North America, because a lot of people want to be here. They don't want to go overseas. They want to make stuff here. This is another example. This is the wood products industry. This is a company that makes floor joists and ceiling joists. They have a completely automated plant where they staple, laminate, and wrap the wood. Just something simple as lumber manufacturing. They've automated it. They've taken people out of the hazards. They've been able to reduce their overtime, and they've been able to handle production spikes. So again, robotic automation lends itself to to reducing costs and to increasing productivity here in North America. Other people that are coming back, GE just announced a new locomotive plant in Texas. And people are coming back because of the rising labor costs in China. We do a lot of work with a company called Nike. They've just recently started to move from China down to Vietnam, and now they're looking at, what do they do next to be successful. Increasing shipping costs and, desire to control manufacturing more tightly by having manufacturing here in North America. Again, the thing about the Save Your Factory is, saving U.S. manufacturing, we think, is critical to the long-term success of the economy and to the U.S. Manufacturing has a very positive effect. Contrary to what everybody says about the service economy, manufacturing has the good paying jobs. Manufacturing has those kind of jobs that you want to have, working on robots, working on automated systems versus, selling fries. And again, it has a very positive impact on the U.S. economy, also has a positive impact on the economy, or the environment, excuse me. Again, manufacturing is going to go to those companies that embrace automation, embrace lean manufacturing, reduce their production costs. And we really think that North American manufacturing and ingenuity, is really going to lead the way. We've done it before, and we can do it again. And so with that, I'll show you a little bit of video.
What we're seeing is a fundamental shift in economics.
Even some jobs moved overseas are now heading home.
Manufacturing has been a bright spot in the economic recovery, with more than 450,000 factory jobs created over the past 2 years.
A survey from Boston Consulting showed that 48% of manufacturing companies with annual sales above $10 billion have reshored.
General Electric, Caterpillar, and Masterlock are all bringing jobs back.
China was a great place to go in 2001 when wages were only 58 cents an hour.
Wage rates are going up much faster than productivity and inflation.
As wages in low-cost factory centers rise, the cost-benefit of outsourcing is fading fast.
Because in addition to the rising Chinese wages, rising energy costs make shipping from China very expensive.
Increases in diesel fuel prices that are making it prohibitively expensive to ship goods from China to the U.S.
As costs of energy has come up, the cost of transporting those products have came up.
Cheap energy, natural gas in particular. Price of natural gas in this country is much cheaper than virtually any place in the world, and manufacturing requires natural gas.
The cost to the nation of natural gas is going to be considerably lower in North America than in any other industrialized country, and that's going to be a big advantage to North American manufacturing relative to anywhere else.
Productivity in the United States has risen dramatically. We produce 2.5 times as much as we produced in 1972, and we do that with 30% less labor.
The implementation of automation, including robots, results in productivity and quality improvements that will save factories and jobs in North America.
As a manufacturer, for an example, we take a look at automation to lower our cost of operation.
You know, if you have robotized production, you know, that eliminates China's manufacturing advantages of cheap labor.
The welding robot has been very significant in bringing our cost of operation down to where there's very little difference between our price of delivered product to the Chinese price of delivered product.
The owner of the company really has a vision to keep his business here in Escanaba. We have to automate, and it's a great place to live, a great place to raise a family. He really wants us to focus on automating so that we can keep the jobs here in Delta County.
These technological innovations are helping U.S. manufacturing expand for the first time in a decade.
5 million manufacturing jobs were lost in the U.S. in the last decade, but new jobs have been created too. And believe it or not, many manufacturers in the U.S. are looking for help.
A training center made up of robots will train current and future employees of one manufacturing plant.
What that enables us to do from Bowling Green Assembly's point of view is to send our skilled trades workers over here to learn how to program and repair and rehab these robots.
And industry officials say automation will lead to more high-skilled jobs and higher pay for workers over time as companies expand their operations in America.
China is really no longer an advantageous platform for manufacturing for markets other than China.
The U.S. is an economy that responds quickly to threats. We don't roll over and curl up in a little ball. We're an economy that responds. We're an economy that reacts. We're an economy that competes. And we're an economy that succeeds.
Robotic automation is making a positive impact on the reshoring of North American manufacturing. Faster, smarter, flexible, and easy-to-use robots are currently spreading into factories in the Americas, and the benefits far outweigh the cost associated with offshoring. Join Fanuc Robotics as we lead the North American manufacturing renaissance to
So as you can see, you know, the death of manufacturing in North America has been gradually exaggerated. And, you know, North America is in a great position to compete and to be competitive, and I think you're going to see a resurgence in the coming years. With that, are there any questions I can answer? Yes, sir. They are. They are. They're putting in more robots, but I think, you know, what you see is the innovation and the way we adapt and the innovation we develop in our products. That's what separates North America from the Chinese. But no, certainly they've lost 11 million jobs. It's all due to automation. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
How automation has a positive impact on the environment? That's what you said before.
Well, the way it has a positive impact is because it typically uses less energy than in many cases. You know, robots are very efficient mechanisms for manufacturing, and so you can get greater output. So we can produce 3 times the number of products with a robot at a lower energy cost. So it means we're burning less fossil fuels, we're burning less, you know, natural gas, generating the same amount of products.
All right, thank you.
There you go.
It obviously is a large capital investment when you go to robotics. Do you have kind of a general payback period for something like that?
You know, really, most of our clients can pay the robot back in a year or less. You know, 2 years is what they strive for. There's very few projects, just to be honest with you, there's very few projects we're involved in that go all the way up to 2 years. Many, it's 1 year. There's a gentleman that makes aluminum radiators and other products out in Kansas City, Missouri. He told me, Scott, we paid for the robot in 4 months. So there's a lot of success stories like that, but many of the projects, you know, 4, 9, 1 year, very, very doable. Some, yeah, they go out to 2 years, but not very often.
Oh,
yes, ma'am.
How do you deal with a wet environment?
The robots we've developed a series of robots for wet environments where they're sealed. You put some positive pressure in them to keep the moisture or the wetness out, and you cover them. So we can do that very successfully. We designed some robots in many cases that are designed for what's called IP69, which is a spraying water. Where you spray the robot with water if that's what it takes. In many food manufacturing operations, that's the requirement. You're going to hit the robot with a hose. You're going to hit it with a caustic foam, and then you're going to hit it with a hose again to neutralize that caustic foam you just put on. And that's what many of the Delta robots and other robots are designed for, is that environment.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
What is the growth you expect in the next 10 years in automation using robotics?
Well, automation last year grew at a rate of 20% in North America. And we expect that to continue to grow, especially where you've seen it grow is outside the automotive industry. The automotive industry obviously has embraced it very well. But the organization I represent covers the Western United States. We don't do any automotive manufacturing out this way other than Tesla up in Fremont. We've seen that kind of growth over the last 4 years. In fact, in 2009, the bad old 2009 when there was a recession, we didn't see a fall off in automation on the non-automotive side. People continued to invest to be profitable because they knew they were going to come out of this thing. They knew they were going to see the demand, and so they were investing in automation. Even in 2009, we saw 15 to 20% growth. So, any questions? Any other questions? Well, I greatly appreciate everybody's time, and I think there's a lot of great news here for North American manufacturers. So, if we can help you out in any way, let me know.
Thank you very much, Scott. And our next workshop is going to take place in approximately 20 minutes. And it's going to be the aging workforce and how e-commerce is changing fulfillment. And it's going to talk about the baby boomers leaving the workforce and the younger generation coming in, and talk about statistics and graphs on that. So look forward to you. Go ahead and grab some more coffee, danishes, and see you at 11 o'clock. Thanks.